What's up, J-Fusion fans? This is Philip and welcome back to another video. So today we are going to review the first episode of Kamen Rider Revice. Okay, so before we begin, I would like to remind everyone that these videos are not intended for viewers under the age of 13, and in order to talk about this episode in some amount of detail, I guess I need to place a spoiler warning, but I also promise not to spoil some very important plot points, maybe some minor details here and there, but I'm not going to try to ruin the experience for you guys, and I highly advise that you go watch Revice episode 1 whenever it becomes available wherever you watch it. So anyways, let's continue on with the video. So the episode actually starts somewhere like in some sort of cave, and this actually kind of reminds me of Kamen Rider Build, at least to how they presented this episode, the first few scenes. And from here, we discover the origins of the Vice stamps, or the stamps that are used to, produce the monsters that we call Deadman. So each monster is called a Deadman. So we do see them appear in this episode. Actually, we've already seen how Deadman kind of looks like in the previous week with Kamen Rider Saber episode 48, where they use the grasshopper stamp in order to create the grasshopper Deadman. So again, the first scene of the show immediately starts with that, and we see actually how we call this one the Deadman incident, and it's going to affect the entirety of the show. So we also are introduced to Phoenix, the organization that is basically designed to counter the Deadmans. So we of course are introduced to the commander of Phoenix, which is Yujiro Wakabayashi. And what's interesting about this character, so the actor who plays Yujiro Wakabayashi, I forgot his name. So he was actually one of the actors from Kamen Rider Amazons, part of the Aoyama team. So basically one of Kamen Rider Amazon Omega's allies. So we're also introduced to George Kirisaki, the Kamen Rider fanboy who created the Revice driver. Again, just to clarify, so in the world of Kamen Rider Revice, or at least in this universe, if I did mention this one last week, so I call this one the Reiwa verse, or the Reiwa Rider verse. Either one. Anyway, so in this setting, so George Kirisaki is a Kamen Rider fan, but to him, Kamen Rider is just a TV show. So basically, he gets the idea of making the Revice driver from watching Kamen Rider. But this one is not actually mentioned in the episode. This was already mentioned in like character profiles that have been released before. So the like official written blurbs about him. So yeah. Now, what is interesting is that the Revice driver was meant for another person to use. So basically, so our protagonist Ikki, yes, he does transform into Kamen Rider Revice, or Kamen Rider Revice to be more precise, but he was not the original intended user. So it's a different person, but it's a character that we are going to see for the rest of the series. So someone who's also important to the plot. So we see it here. Now, of course, we are introduced to Ikki in the next scene, where he spends, of course, a typical day, doing his job. So he actually starts or before he does his job, so he was watching a soccer game. So we do see here that Ikki is quite a soccer fan himself, and kind of uses his enthusiasm, and actually appears to be quite good at soccer, because we see him kick like a plastic how do you say this in English, but like there's a plastic container, like a small plastic tub, that he kicks into a pile of other plastic tubs, and he kicks it perfectly. So we can see that the Ikki is quite athletic, and quite athletic. Sorry, I accidentally put the S there. Ikki is quite athletic and is good at soccer. So he definitely has either played soccer at school, or he does it as a hobby, and his skills could actually make him a professional soccer player, apparently, because he's that good. If you look at that scene, you can see how good he is at soccer. So he shows that kind of enthusiasm to or towards work. So he spends his day, doing his regular things, cleaning up his bathhouse, the shiawaseyu, tending to his customers and whatnot. So that's Ikki's daily life. And of course, we are introduced to his family gradually, with his mother, father, sister, and of course his brother Daiji. And so Daiji, as we've already mentioned before, Daiji is part of Phoenix. And I thought in the very beginning that Phoenix is somewhat a secret organization, but apparently it is public. So Ikki decides to celebrate his brother, joining Phoenix, and things start happening. Now, I would probably, spoiler alert for this part, maybe a little bit. So, in the next scene, we are introduced to Deadman. So we are now going to meet the evil organization. Now, the goal of Deadman's is to create, of course, monsters, and we see that they have a goal to revive this demon, I guess, called GIF. Or is it GIF? I'm not sure. How do you pronounce the GIF thing? So, yeah, their goal is to revive GIF or GIF. But, anyways, in Kamen Rider Revice, they pronounce it as GIF. So, if you've seen that statue that where Aguilera basically hangs around, kind of serves as her throne, I guess. So that's actually GIF. Now, I do see GIF as kind of the final antagonist, so probably once GIF gathers enough energy to revive, so he's basically going to be that main antagonist of the show. But I guess for the most part, we're going to see Aguilera, Ortega, and Julio. I call him Ortega because it makes more sense instead of Orteca. I'm not sure if there's anyone who would be named Orteca. If you notice, so the Deadmans, they're basically very much inspired by Mexican culture. They do use Spanish here and there, like "Gracias, Deadman." That's how they salute. So, thank you, Deadman. But anyways, yeah, you see them. So, like a friend told me before, I do have a Mexican friend, and I asked him about the Deadmans. So he told me that uh, Aguilera does look like some like a woman who wears like flamenco. So her style is like a flamenco, and Ortega and Julio, yeah, they do look like not really mariachi uh, band members, but that my friend told me about the different styles of clothing that are probably the inspiration their uh, for Julio and Ortega's suits. So yeah, it was a very interesting topic, and I did learn a bit more. I just kind of forgot, but yeah. So, anyways, we do see that inspiration from specifically Mexican culture and their use of Spanish here and there. So it was interesting. Now, of course, they also use civilians in order to further their plans. And what's interesting about episode 1, so the civilian that they use in order to create a dead man, so this civilian is played by Minoru Suzuki. Now, if you don't know Minoru Suzuki, he is an extremely popular wrestler who has been very active for decades. So, for fans of the NJWP or NWJP, no, uh, New Japan Wrestling Promotion, NJWP, I guess. So, yeah, so he's a Japanese professional wrestler. So it's interesting to see again for wrestling fans. You definitely like watching uh, Minoru Suzuki here in today's episode, but he's more of a guest. So again, it's an interesting choice, but I do like it. So of course, later on, the dead man's create chaos as villains would usually do. So of course, this is where we see Ikki get into action. So probably not gonna spoil so much, but of course he eventually gets the Revice driver. But how he gets it, no, you got to see it for yourselves. And of course the action, uh, definitely nice. What's interesting about it is we don't have right in this episode. We don't see the opening theme just yet, but it is played as a background music during the battle, and oh my goodness, it's a banger. Way more so than uh Almighty for Kamen Rider Saber. Like it's good. Uh like if I were to rank at least the Reiwa theme songs for now, like I would put Revice's Live Devil number one, and then I would follow it with Kamen Rider Zero One's theme, like Realize. I put it at number two, and Almighty is going to be at number three for now. Okay, that would be my ranking for the Reiwa Kamen Rider theme songs. But Live Devil rocks. You guys gotta listen to it. So yeah, of course we see uh, things in action, and after that, of course, we do see some family bonding with Igarashis. So that's where the episode ends. I do like certain aspects. So again, in the beginning, you do see the 50th anniversary Kamen Rider logo of course, Kamen Rider Revice. So I'd say it is a solid introduction. No, uh, like so far I'm just going to focus on the Reiwa here because it's much easier. Very good introduction. I do like the story, so we do see the origins of things here. Uh, of course, as expected, you would see the first henshin, the first fight, and of course, first finisher. So you get a lot of things packed into a single episode. They've been doing that for quite a long time, of course, but again, for the if we look at just the Dewa riders, their intros are good. So I am expecting to see that kind of quality, along the way. Probably for the next few episodes, I'm not going to expect a lot. So again, they're putting a lot into the beginning, and I expect the pacing of the next few episodes to slow down a little bit because we do have like quite a grand uh, opening, I would say. But then again, we have to focus on like individual story plot points and focusing on characters. So probably it's not going to be as grandiose in the next few episodes, but I think that's going to be expected. But like the storytelling is what I'm going to focus on. If it's good, like at least I'm expecting a story or a quality of storytelling that's similar to Kamen Rider Saber. I'm not gonna set my expectations too high because, uh, you know, it's not good. I would say, like because, let's say you enjoyed Kamen Rider Saber so much. For example, if in terms of story, like let's say for example you do like Saber, you do love Saber for its story, and then you expect each and every year for the story to get better and better. I don't think that's a good thing because it's gonna put a lot of pressure on the writers. Like fans expecting so much, and I do understand that again. Kamen Rider Revice is the 50th anniversary Kamen Rider, so I mean you can already see it there, like 50, 50. The uh, fact that Kamen Rider is celebrating its 50th anniversary, it is very much shown in Kamen Rider Revice. So again, I don't want fans to put pressure on the writers to make the story much better than its predecessor. At least for me, uh, because the story of Kamen Rider Saber was good, I expect the writers to at least keep it on that level. If they want to go beyond that, it's up to the writers. But again, I just want a story that anyone, or at least a majority of people, can enjoy. We cannot please everyone, I think. But if 100% of people who watch Kamen Rider Revice enjoy the story going forward, that's a great job for them. They'd be doing a great job if they can manage to do that for the entirety of the show. Right now, I'm not expecting perfection. I'm just expecting something that I can uh, stick to for the rest of the ride. So I would say for Kamen Rider Revice, I'm going to give it a 4.5 out of 5. Now, there are maybe some scenes that kind of slowed down for a bit, but I do like the episode in general, especially like when George Kirisaki shows how much of a Kamen Rider fanboy he is. He even references the original Kamen Rider Ichigo's transformation pose. So yeah, I still highly recommend watching it. So, anyways, that's all for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. So as always, please do leave a like, comment, So if you've already seen Kamen Rider Revice episode 1, so tell me what you think about it. Write down in the comments. So also share, subscribe, and don't forget to hit that notification bell so you get the latest from J Fusion. This has been Philip, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye. That sucked.